Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Around South Jersey. I have a very special guest with me tonight, Joe Condo. Joe is an attorney. Joe was the chairman for the Republican Party's campaigns. And, Joe, it's nice to have you with us.
Good to be here, Jim. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Let's talk a little bit about you. And you. Right now, I know you're a partner in a law firm.
Yeah. I'm a patent law firm in Philadelphia, Condo, Rossia, Cop 2. We're about 20-some lawyers, and
wow,
all we do is patent law.
Tell me, I watch Shark Tank, so I hear about how important patents are, but what would somebody, I guess you need a patent to protect from somebody else taking your idea?
Right, exactly. I mean, a patent doesn't give you the right to do anything. What it does is it gives you the right to stop other people from practicing your invention.
I see.
And so if you want to get into a business and you want to start selling stuff and you want to distinguish your product from somebody else's, you get a patent to protect it. Little free legal advice while we're talking. Everybody thinks, I got this great idea, I want to get a patent. Well, patents are really expensive, so you better know what you're doing with your thing to make some money off of it before you start running to get a patent. So
I saw that on Shark Tank when they talk about how expensive they are.
Right.
But of course, I guess they're valuable once you have it.
They're valuable once you have it, as long as you're actually going to put a product in the marketplace, or you're going to get somebody to put a product in the marketplace. Anybody on Shark Tank, of course, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite shows. I really enjoy that.
Someday, hopefully, they'll have me on as a guest.
I hope so.
We'll see.
Tell me about growing up. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Camden County. My family's from Camden County. I like to say we're from Camden County before it was Eastern Philadelphia, and my grandmother was born there in the 19th century in Waterford Township in Camden County, and there's actually a Condo Avenue in Waterford Township.
Oh, that's why they named the avenue after the family.
After my grandfather.
Oh, that's
right.
cool. That's neat.
That's where my father's family's from. But I was born and raised in Barrington in Camden County. And
where'd you go to high school?
Paul Sixth in Hatfield.
That makes sense. Yeah. That's good. Good Catholic boy.
Yeah, well, Catholic boy. We'll leave the judgment to others.
Back before we were on the air, we were talking about being Catholic, and you had saw. I went out with Father Rivera, Dave Rivera, and what a great guy he is.
Yeah,
and
he really is.
St. Joe of Hampton. Boy, the one thing though, in fact, I'm going to do a show soon on shrinkage of people going to church in general.
Mm-hmm.
I in Millville, grew up Catholic. I was altar boy at St. Mary's, All Saints Parish, and all that stuff. And then I lived on the west side of town, so I went to St. John Bosco Church, and we were really packed there. They were packed at St. Mary Magdalene. And now I go to Mass on a Saturday night, and there's lucky if there's 60 people there.
Right.
I guess, and it's the same with a lot of the Methodist churches. Presbyterian Church in Millville closed. What do you think it is, Joe?
I could speculate forever, and I'm actually a member of St. Padre Pio Parish in Vineland.
I love that parish.
I'm hoping it's a great parish.
Yeah,
I love the parish too.
Yeah.
But you can see the decline in participation, and so I have some thoughts, not unlike some of the political get out the vote efforts that we were all familiar with.
Geez, think if you worked for the Catholic
Church,
that
I think we could apply to the church exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to make a pitch for something like that. But if you don't mind, I'll share an experience that I just had the other day. I was down in Tampa this week, and I have two children that live in Tampa, so I went down to visit them. So I went to Mass at the cathedral in Tampa on Sunday at noon, expecting there to be nobody there. It was packed.
Oh, that's
and
great.
It was packed with young couples, young families. It was packed with kids. Very, very different experience from what we're finding right here in New Jersey. So it led me to believe that there's something there that needs to be explored too. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. As I went to Father Dave's church, not this Saturday before, he had a good crowd. I mean, that's a big church, St. Joe in Hamilton, but he had several hundred people. For a Saturday evening, 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock service, which I thought. But again, he's very charismatic, and that helps as well. Bring people out. I think they enjoy listening to a homily.
To bring them out a second time. I mean, at some level,
that's true.
A friend of mine used the expression, "We have to captivate people." Not just get them to come out, but to get them to come back. You have to captivate them with something. And Father Dave is a perfect example of somebody who can, as is Father Rob Sinatra from Padre Pio.
Super, yeah.
They're great at what they do. Not everybody is as charismatic.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. That's what you enjoy. I was saying that to Joe before we went on the air. When I went with Father Dave, we took him to dinner at Iliano's in Hamilton. He was like a rock star. Father, Father, Father. Everybody loves the guy, and that says a lot. I'm so happy for him, happy for the church. And he's only in his mid-30s. He's pastor of 2 churches in Hamilton and does a lot of different masses. Plus, he can do, say, one in Spanish as well.
Right.
So he's really multi-purpose person, does really well by it. But anyway, this is funny. About 5 years ago, one of my favorite freeholders, I was a freeholder then, and I was serving on the Cumberland County Board of Chosen Freeholders. I was a commissioner the last year or two I was there, but then it was still freeholders. And sitting to my left was a young man named Joe Sparacio, who I think the world of. Yeah. I got to meet Joe, his family, his dad, his brother, his mother. Better people you will never, ever find. And Joe serves our country. Joe was in the military reserves and all that, and that's the reason, unfortunately, he didn't run for re-election. But you talk about one of the nicest people I've ever served with, had the honor of serving with. At that time, Cumberland County was 9 Democrats. There are 10 elected positions in Cumberland County. 7 now are county commissioners, then were county freeholders. And the other 3 are a surrogate, the sheriff, and the county clerk. But thanks to this guy, it's now exactly the opposite. And Joe, that's only been like 4 or 5 years ago, right? Did it switch?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. I mean, I'm grateful for the shout out, but it was thanks to a lot of people's hard work, of course.
Yeah, but all I heard about was how great Joe Condo is.
I'm happy to have been a part of it for sure.
Yeah.
I saw you mentioned Joe Sparacio. I've met Joe. I don't know him well because I showed up on the scene around 2019. I got involved in now Senator Testa's campaign in 2019. And that was Joe's last year on the board. He didn't seek re-election, as you were saying, because he got deployed.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate. I never really had a chance to work with Joe, but
super guy.
I've had a chance to work with everybody else since. And so, big turnaround for our party here in Cumberland County.
It's unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, in fact, I've been a lifelong Democrat. This was funny, though, Joe. When I first got elected, I actually, before that, back when I was in my early 20s, I went to a friend of mine who was a Republican in Millville. Ethan Aronoff was his name. I said, Ethan, I think I'd like to join the Republican Party. He said, Jim, there really isn't any in Millville. Jim Hurley, who I loved, who was our state senator, was sort of in charge, but they didn't have what you guys have, the way the meetings are and all the things you got going. And so I just didn't do anything. So I was an independent. And then in 1981, the Democrats asked me to come out and MC some events, and I had a portable PA system. That's what so I'd go out and I would do events. And in 81, they came up to me and they said, "Would you run for county freeholder?" And I said, "I'm not a Democrat." They said, "Are you a Republican?" I said, "No, I'm independent." They said, "Well, you could go register as a Democrat and you could run." So it was interesting because at that time I lived in Marsh River Township, which by the way, you guys turned Republican.
We turned Republican too. Yeah.
This is a funny story. Kenny Weldon's a friend of mine, and Ken calls me up a couple years ago. He goes, "Jim, I just want to let you know I turned Republican." I said, "Good for you, you'll win," and he did. But getting back to my situation, I said, I was living in Dorchester. I'd moved out of Millville for a few years, and I always wanted to be the mayor of Millville, but I didn't live here. So I thought, well, it's an opportunity to serve the public. And I was on the school board in Marsh River. So in 81, I ran, and it was a 6-1 board. The only Republican was a guy named Harry Freitag, who everybody loved. He was a funeral director. Yeah. So I got blown away. And then I found out they don't always tell the truth. At the end of 81, Chuck Fisher came up to me. We had a dinner, and Chuck's going around the table. Gary Simmons, you're a winner. John Renard, you're a winner. Sheriff Castellini, you're a winner. And he goes, "Quinn, you can't win." And I didn't know. I was dumb enough to think I could. Yeah. So I was out campaigning really hard and all. But he came over to me after lunch, and he put his arm on my shoulder. He said, "Don't worry." He said, "We're going to get you in anyway because John Rose is going to retire." Well, then I found out they don't always tell the truth because he didn't retire. And then they didn't want to give me the line either. But you know what? I beat him in the primary. Yeah. I got elected in 82 and had good success until Joe and I have something in common here. 1982, I got elected. I got elected in 85, which is not an easy year. That was
not an easy year for Democrats. But I mean, we got 3 seats in Camden County. That was the first 3 seats we picked up was in landslide in 85.
Right. Yeah. So I won by the skin of my teeth. And then 88 won pretty well, but 91 I'm losing. This guy's winning. And when you 1990? Did you?
I got elected in 1990.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1990, I was freeholder director in Cumberland County. And then Joe and I were talking up at Eastland the other night about it. And he got elected in 90, was freeholder director in 1991.
In 91, I was director.
First Republican, right? Or
Sorry?
One of the first Republicans.
First Republican since Watergate. Well, actually,
yeah, right.
In truth, I was the deputy director at the beginning of the year. Michael DePiro, my mentor, was the freeholder director. Michael passed away in office.
Oh,
and that's how I became the director. To this day, people still wonder whether I poisoned him. But that's how I became the director sort of in the middle of the year. So I was not the first director, but the last freeholder director. And you mentioned the change from freeholder to commissioner. I used to joke that I was the last Republican freeholder director in Camden County history, and it was a title I didn't want to take to my grave to encourage other Republicans in Camden County. Now I'm going to take the title to my grave. I'm basically an answer to a Trivial Pursuit question now.
It's funny that you say that. I got elected, I got to be director in 1989 in March because Chuck Fisher was the director and he passed away. So I was director from March of '89 until December of 90, and I was going to campaign in 91, so I gave up the directorship so I could spend more time doing the stuff I needed to do. But I got blown away in 91 because of the Florio backlash. That sucker, he wanted to put toilet paper tax on toilet paper.
That's how I got elected. We had buttons, and they said there was nothing more than a roll of toilet paper, vote Republican. I mean, we said we had to say nothing else except that we split the toilet paper tax. 91, we were also the outliers. In 91, we got beat pretty badly in Camden County. We were the only Republicans in the state that got whooped up in 91. Oh. So we kind of all went out together. That's why so we had 1 year. Then that was the end of my short reign as freeholder director.
Did you ever want to run again?
For freeholder?
No, or even local?
I've always said, and I know you've served many terms, but I've always said it's something everybody should have to do once, but no one should have to do it more than once. And so I retired to my wigwam in the backwoods country, as George Washington once said, and just kind of work behind the scenes and try to help on campaigns here, there, and wherever I feel like playing around.
Well, that's what, I mean, when I looked at, a lot of my friends are Republican, and they spoke very highly of you. And Jimmy Sorrow, for instance, telling me, how you guided them, what to do, and all these kind of situations. And you certainly have had tremendous success in the last 3 years. And truthfully, folks, not only the county government, but the municipal government. Cumberland County was a blue county, thanks to Joe and, of course, Senator Testa and all the wonderful people that he has surrounding him. This county is now a red county. The only blue areas of Cumberland County are Bridgeton and Fairfield Township. And as I mentioned, my buddy Kenny Wilden calls me up and says, Jim, I'm turning Republican. And I said, smart move. And he did, and he won. And then my buddy Mike Vizard, he called me, said, Jim, I'm turning Republican, but you're still going to love me. I said, absolutely, no problem. And, of course, he could have stayed as mayor, but he gave it up to Ron Sutton, who had been mayor before. Right. But Commercial Township is all Republican.
Morris River's 3-0 Republican. Commercial Township's 3-0 Republican. We can go through them all, right? Yeah. Lawrence is 2-1 Republican, but in Lawrence Township, even the Democrats are Republicans.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's true. I have Skip on with me.
Right, exactly. I've never seen a turnout like Lawrence Township, 83% of the vote. I'm like, but you didn't mention Greenwich.
That's right. They do have a Democratic mayor, don't
Greenwich is Democrat.
Oh, it is. I didn't know. I guess I should.
For now.
Right, okay. And that's unusual, being where it is. That's true. I apologize to Greenwich because I did see they have a Democratic mayor, which so there's 3 out of 14. Yeah. And Millville went totally Republican the year I ran, and I technically won, but I lost. I'm not going back there for various reasons. I won't get into the reason mainly, but I finished 4th out of 5 people that were running that year, but the other 4 were all Republican. Yeah. And I ran with a Democratic slate, and my people finished 7, 8, 9, and 10. So I didn't get any help from my running mates, that's for sure. And then Joe blew me away, got me down to 4, and I said, hey, see you, guys, have a good time. But So Millville's Republican. I love Mayor Finucci. Oh my God, Vineland is Republican. I
don't know how you cannot love Mayor Finucci. I know there are people who don't love Mayor Finucci, but if it's a rough business we're in. But Anthony Finucci is just the best. Of course, he's up for re-election this year.
Can you imagine who would run against him?
I'm about to say, I'd be surprised if anybody does run against him, and anybody that does run against him is exactly that, wasting their time. Because Mayor Finucci is going to win in a landslide again. And he deserves it. He's doing a great job as mayor out there.
He really does. We're talking with Joe Condo. Joe is an attorney, a patent attorney. Joe is also the first Republican freeholder director in Camden County and the last. And we're talking about all the great things he's been able to do along with Senator Mike Testa. And we'll talk more about that right after these messages.
More than a century ago, General Tire was born right here in America. Since then, we've made a name for ourselves by making tires you can depend on. Tires built to handle any road this country can throw at them, and relied on by every kind of driver. So you know that no matter where life takes you, with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
At Mintz Insurance, we're proud to have been serving our customers for nearly 80 years, offering 30 different insurance products for your auto, home, and business. And to help ensure that you're getting the best rates possible, we give you up to 3 quotes for every policy, so you can choose what's right for you. At Mintz, we're part of the community, local representatives, supporting events, and proud of it. It's part of who we are. Mintz Insurance. Call today and find out how we can help you save on insurance, or visit us at mintzinsurance.com.
In South Jersey, we do things our own way. We say things out loud, face things head on, and never back down. And that's how we fight cancer. With the most advanced diagnostics, leading-edge technology, and a team of doctors who know how to treat your cancer. And most importantly, we do it right here at the Frank and Edith Scarpa Cancer Center, Vineland, and the Leading Edge Cancer Center, Mullica Hill.
Many people treat their health like a game. With the Complete Care Health Network, it's easy to start your healthcare journey. Our mental health services focus on the emotions and behaviors that affect your overall well-being and features psychiatric, counseling, and addiction services, including our exclusive Fresh Start program, designed to help combat the opioid epidemic in our communities, plus all the other specialties you expect from Complete Care. Level up your health with us. The Complete Care Health Network. No games, just great healthcare for everyone.
Welcome back to Around South Jersey. My special guest this evening is Joe Condo. Joe is a patent attorney in Philadelphia. Joe is the first and probably the last, I'm sure he was, freeholder director in Camden County in 1991, right? 91. Yep. And has been the last 3 years one of the major people, I guess, Senator Testa, who I think the world of too. I mean, what a great guy. What a great family.
Absolutely.
Aren't they wonderful
They're a
people?
great family. I didn't know the Testas well until I got involved in Mike's campaign in 2019. Michael and I have become the best, the Senator Testa and I have become the best of friends. I'm friendly with his mother and father as well, and they are just all great people. His father, Michael, of course, and his mother, Ellen, is a township committee woman in Buena Vista Township in Atlantic County. So they're a bit of a dynasty. But the senator, I mean, what a great guy. He's got a level of energy that I have just never seen. He just never stops. I think he's awake 20 hours a day and working constantly, and so he uses the expression often that our overnight success here was 10 years in the making, and so it was. I mean, I only came on the scene here in 2019, thanks to Michael's running for Senate that year,
right?
And he welcomed me into his campaign, and then he welcomed me into the county, and we've been able to do a few more things over the past couple of years that the party here hadn't been able to do. prior to that. So, I was the campaign manager for the last 3 county races. I was happy to have been able to do that. But as we've discussed so many times before privately, the Republicans in Cumberland County were always sort of in the red zone. I mean, Michael's always analogized it this way. The football analogy, there was always in the red zone.
Yeah, good point.
Even though Republicans are down now, Republican registration's down about 8,000 compared to the Democrats in Cumberland County still. But the Republicans weren't that far behind in the election results.
Yeah.
And so, with a few tweaks that I'm obviously not going to discuss
sure.
on
Don't
the
give
air.
away the secrets.
Right, exactly. I can tell you how the sausage is made. But with a few tweaks, we're able to get from the red zone to the end zone, and then now, as you identified, 9 of the 10 county offices are Republican, and with minor exceptions, every local elected official in the county is a Republican.
Except
now.
Greenwich and Bridgeton and Fairfield.
In Fairfield. Yeah.
That's 14 municipalities, 11 are now Republican.
Right.
And this, as we mentioned, the county was, when Joe Spracio was the only Republican about 5 years ago, it was 9-1 Democrat. Now it's 9-1 Republican.
Right.
And Celeste Riley is the only Democrat left, and her seat is up this year coming up. And I'm sure it'll be an interesting race. And and truthfully, the Democrats have had difficulty finding people to run. And I don't know, like last election, you had Carol Musso and Donna Pearson, who were incumbents, and they opted not to run. And, of course, before that, Darlene Barber, who was a director, she lost. Before that, Joe Durrella lost. Right. And, in fact, if I had run with Joe, I would have lost, too. I ran in Millville that year.
Right.
I personally felt like I lost, but I did finish in the money, 4 out of 5. But after being the mayor and the vice mayor all those years, I really didn't feel like being in charge of the public safety department.
I don't know what others will say on the subject, but I think you were just a solid gentleman for making the decision that you did.
Well, you're right, and I felt that they would be better off with everybody being on the same team. And and I like the mayor, I really do, and I like Ben Romanek. That's where I'll stop. But those two, I really do like them both. And in fact, Anthony Fanucci helped, the mayor, Orndorff, with some information. And she and I and Ben Romanek sat down before I decided I wasn't going to continue. And I gave them some advice, and we talked about things. And, again, very nice people, the two of them are, and, see what happens. That election's coming up in 2 years. That'll be the gubernatorial election.
Yeah, 25 next year.
Right. Yeah. So, Joe, are you going to continue doing the great things you've been doing?
I'm going to continue to do the great things that I've been doing. Where I'm going to be doing them, or for how long I'm going to be doing them. I mean, I've been all over South Jersey in my career. As you know, I started in Camden County. You've mentioned that a couple of times. I spent most of the last 25 years in Burlington County. I actually live in Atlantic County now. I got involved in Cumberland County because I happen to live in that sliver of Atlantic County that Senator Testa represents, and that's how he and I got connected. But I am optimistic. It's a presidential election year, so anything's possible, right?
Yeah.
But I am optimistic that as much as I love Celeste Riley, I have no choice but to help retire her too. So I am optimistic that Joe Cilio and Tony Romero will get reelected this year, and that Tory Lodes will get elected to the clerk. Then it'll be 10-0 Republican, and at that point,
how much better can you get?
Right.
Where do you?
I want to play the Seinfeld game, like go out when we're on top here. So I don't know what things are going to bring after that, but I love Senator Testa so much that whatever I can do for the Senate or whatever I can do for Cumberland County, I'm going to do. And of course, Michael's got a great career and a great future.
Oh, doesn't he? Can you imagine? Truthfully, now I'm telling you, I wish he were running for president, because I like him a lot better than a guy that's running for president.
I would not be surprised if we see a Testa for president campaign one of these days.
Well,
I don't know if you or I will be around long enough to see, because Michael's younger than we are. But yeah, he just has. I mentioned his charisma and his energy earlier today.
Yeah.
He could run a national campaign and never slow down. I mean, he'll probably punch me in the eye when he sees me for even suggesting this now. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, Michael's going somewhere, and but he's so smart, and he's so intelligent when it comes to this business that he's going to make deliberate moves, and in time we'll see what his plan unfolds.
Well, one thing that's realistic, Mike Testa could be senator as long as he wants for the rest of his life if he wants, because now that Cumberland is red, meaning Republican, Cape May has always been red, and Jeff Van Drew, to his credit, was the only Democrat ever. We have freehold freeholder in Cape May County and to win the Assembly and Senate running out of Cape May County. He was an anomaly, just a special person, still is. And eventually, as you all know, he switched and went down at Wildwood Convention Hall, and President Trump was there, and he kissed President Trump's ring and became part of the Republican team, and is doing very, very well. So, I mean, he was the exception, I think, to most of the people, as far as look at Cape May County, was one of the few Democrats that could ever win.
Right.
And I think almost every town in Cape May County is Republican.
Yeah, I think every town, if I'm not mistaken, except one in Cape May County is Republican. Cumberland, of course, as you've mentioned a couple times now. Atlantic County is a solid Republican.
Right. Yeah.
So the southeastern portion of the state is going to be challenging for Democrats. Meanwhile, the river counties are still solidly Democrat.
Yeah, I was just with Dave Bailey Jr. I went to his dad's viewing last week, and Dave won the Assembly seat as a Democrat in the 3rd legislative district. Of course, my good buddy John Berzicelli is now a senator in the 3rd district, and I don't know the Simmons woman. I think she was a freeholder.
She was a freeholder in Gloucester County.
Yeah, I don't know her, but the two of them I know. And it is interesting. The river one's where the cutoff is, that's still Democrat, but all from that all the way over to the Atlantic Ocean is Republican.
Well, so you asked me what am I going to do after Cumberland County's 10-0 Republican?
Okay. Now I know. That challenge.
Throw down the gauntlet now.
It's been one of the things that I was so impressed when, like I say, Jim Sorrow and I have been good friends. In fact, he served with me, and this was an interesting situation. Jim and Sue, his wife, were just super people, and known them, and we've been friends for a long time. And when Jim was on, I think it was maybe my first year back on, and Jim and I served together, and we had the Public Works Department. We co-chaired that. And I'm very limited when it comes to any kind of things like fixing or equipment and all. That's not my forte. But Jim has a plumbing background and all that stuff. So we went out and we're looking at a dike over in Greenwich, and I have no idea what they're talking about. Jim's going, yeah, we need to do this. Okay, Jim, you know what you're doing. And that I'm happy that he is back, and he's been a good friend for a long period of time. Sandy Taylor, she was my banker for many years, 40 years in banking, certainly understands finances. The person I didn't know was Art Marchand Jr. I had never met him. I liked his dad. I knew his dad. And now I see him as a county commissioner. Wow, what a good guy. He's sharp.
He's great. Yeah, I didn't know Art before this campaign, and I was happy to have met him. Of course, I knew of his father's legacy. So happy to have Jim Sorrow back. It's great to have 7-0 control. But this is new to us. Let's call it what it is. Yeah. And so it's great to have somebody with that kind of experience back on the board. And Jim is just a wealth of knowledge and experience, and he's been great. And as you mentioned, Sandy and Art, they're definitely welcome additions to the team for different reasons. And so real happy with the composition of the board that we have.
I got to tell you, though, an interesting, funny story, so to speak, is Mike Donato.
Yeah.
I've been in government 33 and a half years, folks. I never knew the guy. Somebody said, you're lucky. Tell him why I was lucky I didn't know Joe Donato or Mike Donato. Because what his job was.
Oh, what his job was an investigator. Yeah. You don't want to meet Mike Donato at work.
that's what I meant when somebody told me to work for the prosecutor's department investigating.
Yeah. You don't want to meet Mike Donato at work.
No.
But that was another stunner. I mean, even up till election day, we were being told that we weren't going to be able to take Bob Ostino out, and the rest is history. But
it's funny too, because Senator Testa and I talked about. I'm really good friends with Jody Farabella, who was the police chief in Millville. And it was interesting because I thought Jody would have been a better candidate for the sheriff's race, although obviously it didn't matter. But I thought because of his name recognition and experience and stuff like that. But Mike Testa basically told me, Jim, we know what we're doing, and he did. And everybody tells me what a great guy Mike Donato is, and I'm really happy for him.
It's another one of those tough decisions where you have multiple qualified candidates that would be good candidates. They would be good sheriffs, and you mentioned you're friends with Jody. Jody's one of the very first people I met when I started hanging out. Might be outing myself a little bit here, but I've been hanging around in Millville since 10 or 12 years ago, before I even got involved in Cumberland County politics.
Oh, wow.
And have spent an awful lot of time in Jody's pole barn. And
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, nice
and
place.
Jody's
Yeah.
one of the very nice place, and Jody's one of the very first people that I met when I came down here to hang out in Millville.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny. I look at my friends, and I have a lot of Republican friends that I really admire, and I'm glad that you know, they were successful. And it's one of those situations where times have changed. They just truly have. And for many, many years, Jimmy and I were talking about 25 years ago, and I didn't realize this. In fact, one of the guys, Bob Smith, is one of my best friends. He won the 7th seat, and the Democrats had 1 year of 7-0 control 25 years ago, Jimmy told me. And I didn't realize. I'd forgotten about that. I was mayor of Millville then. Really, I guess, wasn't as much involved. But 25 years later, it's 7-0 Republican, and that's the first time in modern history that's ever happened.
Right. We were challenging everybody to tell us whether it's ever been 7-0 Republican.
Well,
and nobody.
Yeah.
Probably back in the old days.
The old board, when they had many, many members, it was Max April, and but that was back in the 60s or early 70s when they, before they went to the 7-member board. Board. You know,
so probably has never been 7-0 Republican since the 7-member board was constituted.
Yeah. No, in fact, Charlie Scarandi was one of the Democrats, so that wasn't 7-0, but it was Republican early on. I don't know what changed it to Democrat, but it was Democrat for many, many years until this year.
Camden County, where I go see my home county, Camden County was Republican forever too. Watergate changed everything.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
The early 70s after Watergate, and the Democrats took a hold of South Jersey, and the Republicans could never get it back.
Yeah, it's a very good point when you think about, you know, how Sandman lost his seat to Bill Hughes, and because of Watergate. That was the reasoning behind it. But, you know, what's interesting is that I'm not a big Trump fan, but he is loved by people in this area. They really do.
Right. This is what I've referred to as the demographic realignment in the post-Trump era. So that's an awful lot of words. Maybe I'll write on that someday. But if we look at Burlington County, where I lived for some 20 years, Burlington County flipped from a Republican bastion of 40 or so years. Yeah. Now it's 10-0, if you will. They only have a 5-member board, so it's 8-0. Democrat.
Wow.
And many of the old Republican towns, like Lumberton, where I lived, was solid Republican. There's not a Republican left. So where Burlington County went very much Democrat in the post-Trump era.
I didn't realize it.
Cumberland County went the opposite way. So there's a bit of a realignment, I think. And
you know who I would have loved to have voted for president? John Kasich. I loved him. He was my favorite. I thought
Governor of Ohio.
Exactly. Yeah, had been a congressman, had experience, and all that stuff. And but he got blown away by Trump. Everybody got blown away by Trump.
And you know, I'll say it now. It might be treason within my party, but I'll say it now. Back in those days, I really thought that Trump was planted by the Clintons just to disrupt the Republican primary process, until he just started blowing away all these seasoned Republican politicians. And I'm like, all right, wait a minute, there's no stopping him now. And so I really thought he was a plant at the beginning.
Yeah, and wait, I tell you what, I mean, if you look at the situation right now, I mean, I like Joe Biden. He came to a fundraiser for me in 1985 and all that stuff. But Joe, it's time to go home and retire. And you know, and even I've not been a Trump person, and I can tell you off the air some of the reasons why. But you know, it's one of those situations where we have two people that I don't think either one should be running for president. I would like to see, like I said, John Kasich. I don't care who it is, Chris Christie for the Republicans, and you know, Democrats run somebody that's not in the position like Joe Biden is at this point in time. He's a nice man, but at 81, 80, that type of thing, it's time to give it up.
This year promises to be interesting and entertaining, as the past 8 have been.
That's true.
And we don't know that Joe Biden will be the Democrats' nominee, and there's a lot of speculation about that.
That's
so
a good point.
Until the convention is over.
That's true.
But the next presidential election, we will begin the return to normalcy.
I hope so. That would be nice.
Trump, win or lose, won't be around 4 years from now, and Biden, win or lose, won't be around 4 years from now.
Yeah, so that's true.
Right now, it's just entertainment.
Who would you see if Trump weren't running? Who would you like to see on the Republican team?
If Trump weren't running, I'm not alone in this, but I would love to see a DeSantis-Haley ticket. I think, excuse me, I think Ron DeSantis should have done a better job than he did. I don't know what happened in his presidential campaign. I mean, as the governor of Florida and his gubernatorial campaigns in Florida have been masterful, how he fizzled out so quickly in the presidential campaign. That's a big leap to go from a state to a nationwide run. And maybe he just didn't have the people around him that were capable of making that jump. Certainly not with the magnitude of Donald Trump in the face. Now, Nikki Haley's still hanging around, doesn't have a chance of getting the nomination, but I think she's great. If you'd asked me 4 years ago, I would have thought Nikki Haley for president was just the way to go. So any combination of DeSantis and Haley would make me very happy, and I am hopeful that we see them back in 4 years.
Yeah, well, they certainly, I wouldn't have any problem with either one of them as well. I got to tell you a funny story. My oldest son is vice president of NBC Sports, and he runs the Pro-Am Golf Tournament at Lake Tahoe. In 2006, he wasn't president, Donald Trump was there playing in the tournament. So at the end of the first round of the tournament, Charles Barkley, Michael Jordan, and Tony Romo were playing with him. They come into the NBC trailer, and they said to my son, "You got to talk to Trump. He's cheating on the golf course," which anybody who plays with him now knows that. So I'm not letting a secret out of the bag. And my son called him into the NBC trailer, and he proceeded to say to him, "Son, I cheat in golf, I cheat in business, I cheat on my wife, I can do whatever I damn well please." And went on, and and the things he said, he gets away with. It doesn't matter. It's like, it doesn't matter what he does. He's successful. And I think one of the reasons is he was a TV celebrity. I watched his show, Celebrity Apprentice. His name's on every building and golf course, and, the Trump name is very, very familiar. And so I said to my son one day, we were watching the Eagles game, I said, who I think would be a good competitor to run against Trump is Mark Cuban. Because Shark Tank, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there was talk about Cuban. If you remember the debates, the Trump-Clinton debates, Mark Cuban was trying to make some trouble for Trump during those debates. So and I'm not sure he won't make some trouble this campaign.
Well, it was interesting because my son's friends with Cuban. He texted him while we were watching the Eagles game, and he said, "My dad wants to know if you'd be interested in running for president." And this is several years ago. And he texts back, he said, "Tell your dad I wouldn't do that to my family," which I understand. But I guess my point was, I think in order to have somebody that can compete with Trump, you need a celebrity or somebody that's well known, because he's got great name recognition.
Well,
really does.
I happened to watch an episode of I was forced to watch an episode of The View the other day. But you look at somebody like Whoopi Goldberg or Oprah
that's
Winfrey,
true too. Yeah.
Someone of that caliber. Could definitely cause some trouble if she wanted to run for president. But you mentioned that too. Who really wants to be president?
Yeah, that's true too. Can you imagine what it does too? I mean, look at Obama and the different Clinton. Once they're in, they age like twice as much.
Vice president's the best job ever created.
Yeah, that's true.
You get head of state security, you get limousined around, you get to eat the finest restaurants, and you don't really have to do anything except for wait for the boss to die. So that's the best job in the country. But president, you can keep that.
It's funny. I think about the presidents that I've actually met. I met Clinton at a fundraiser. Joe Biden, as I said, actually in 1985 came to a fundraiser, and he was our featured speaker. And then when I was a news reporter for a radio station locally, I got invited to the White House to meet Gerald Ford. I just really liked him a lot, very impressed with him. And, of course, I met Trump because we hold our New Jersey Conference of Mayors conventions at Taj Mahal. So he was there. So I met him as well. And so they were the ones I've actually met. Two of them weren't president when I met them, but the other two, Clinton and Ford, were. And, I just really wish there was somebody that I would be excited about. And I think a lot of people probably feel the same way about voting for this year.
This election's 100% lesser of two evils election. Nobody's going out to vote for either of these candidates. Right? Each has their base. And, we all know Trump's base.
Yes.
Right. And so the Trump's base will be out there, but Trump's base won't be enough to get him elected. So it's going to be, which lever are you going to pull while you're holding your nose? I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being a low turnout presidential election.
And that's what's interesting, too, because in Cumberland County, it was always the presidential year was the year the Democrat would win. In fact, I was telling Joe before we went on the air, I remember back couple presidential elections. The first time Joe Durrell ran, I don't know what year it was, but it was a presidential year. He had left me in Millville and he went over to the county to run. And that year they brought this guy in named Doug Long, who I'd never met in my life. And all of a sudden he's running with Durrell. And I'm thinking, how's this guy going to win? And somebody said to me, because I didn't even know. They said, Jim, he's going to win because it's a presidential election year in Cumberland County. And he did. He did very well. He won and all that thing. So that showed how strong the presidential election year had been for the Democrats, but this year it's not going to be. I can't see that.
Right, I would be surprised if it's a high turnout election.
Yeah,
I think this will be low, relatively speaking, because I think that so many people are just fed up. And the last presidential election was one of the highest turnouts ever, because it was so emotional between we have to keep Trump in and we got to keep Trump out.
Yeah,
where this year, a Trump-Biden election, like nobody wants to vote for either of them. Everybody's tired of this, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if it's a relatively low turnout election. But even that having been said, with the demographic realignment, as we discussed, anything can happen in a presidential election. No two ways about it. Anybody that's been in this business for more than an hour and a half knows that. But I feel pretty optimistic again that the southeast of New Jersey will go pretty heavily Republican again this year.
Yeah, I think you're right from what I've seen and the way things have been going and things like that. It's really something. We're talking with Joe Condo. Joe is the campaign chairman for the Republican Party in 2021, 22, 23. Winner, 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 chicken dinner. We'll be back with more right after these messages.
Are you just part of the crowd?
Do you feel isolated and alone?
Do you wish someone would see your gifts?
Would you like to be seen as an individual?
A person of value.
Full of life and purpose. Part of a family that cares?
The most important decisions a family can make are usually made around the kitchen table. At DeMarco Luisi Funeral Home, we believe pre-planning and the difficult decisions you face with the loss of a loved one should also be made around the comfort of a table, like a family. Our friendly, kind, and compassionate staff is committed to helping you get through this most difficult time. In your time of need, trust DeMarco Luisi Funeral Home, Vineland.
Imagine living without pain. For over 35 years, Doctors Beebe and Doyle have helped thousands of people find relief from all types of pain. Millville Chiropractic Center has 4 doctors on staff specializing in hands-on or light-touch, drug-free pain relief methods. The examination, x-rays, therapies, and adjustments are all performed at one location. Schedule a consultation today. Enjoy life without pain and discomfort. Millville Chiropractic Center, the area's #1 pain relief center.
More than a century ago, General Tire was born, right here in America. Since then, we've made a name for ourselves by making tires you can depend on. Tires built to handle any road this country can throw at them, and relied on by every kind of driver. So you know that no matter where life takes you, with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
At Mintz Insurance, we're proud to have been serving our customers for nearly 80 years, offering 30 different insurance products for your auto, home, and business. And to help ensure that you're getting the best rates possible, we give you up to 3 quotes for every policy, so you can choose what's right for you. At Mintz, we're part of the community, local representatives, supporting events, and proud of it. It's part of who we are. Mintz Insurance. Call today and find out how we can help you save on insurance, or visit us at mintzinsurance.com.
Welcome back to Around South Jersey. My special guest is Joe Donato, who is an attorney, a patent attorney in Philadelphia, and his claim to fame in South Jersey is the guy who helped turn Cumberland County from blue to red. And, it must have been satisfaction for you, Joe, to see that happen.
Yes, definitely satisfaction. I mean, I'm A lot of people think that I'm a professional political consultant. I'm not. I'm actually a patent lawyer in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I thought that's what you did.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Yeah.
I'm just an overzealous volunteer, and can't get enough of it. So it's like an addiction. I've been at this for 40 years on and off all over South Jersey. So it is delightful, obviously. I always say Election Day stands at the head of the calendar. And so it's delightful, obviously, when the hard work pays off and you can see some success. And I like tell people, and I think people who aren't in the business this long and haven't been around as many counties, it's really rare and hard to flip a county. You flip a county for a year. We did that in Camden County back in the night, but for 1 year, that's not flipping the county.
Right.
That's bagging into an election. But it's really hard and really rare to flip a county. And if you think about how many counties actually flip party controlled sustainably, it's
very
rare.
few.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah.
So it's really been gratifying. And shout out again to my good friend Senator Chairman Testa, because he welcomed me in with open arms, and we didn't really know each other well. We've gotten to know each other well. We're best of friends now. But we talk multiple times a day about what's going on here, there, and everywhere. But if he hadn't welcomed me in here, I'd probably be banging my hand on the counter at home. Who knows what? But thankful for it, and it has been gratifying. And I've got to meet a lot of good people like yourself, names that I've known or heard of, but didn't really have an opportunity to meet until the past couple of years. So I feel like I'm right at home here in Cumberland County.
Well, the Republican Party thanks you for a great job that you've done for them as well. In fact, I was thinking about something. I'll be having to take off for some medical reasons in a couple of weeks. Maybe you could host the show and bring Mike Testa's mother on, because I was thinking I'd love to have her as a guest sometime. But
Ellen Testa is one of my favorites. I mean, I
hear she's a great cook too.
I will. Yeah, so I have to admit that I've been to their home for dinner, but yeah, she is a great cook. She's a great cook, and I'm not shy about inviting myself to their home for dinner. I love Ellen. I love Mike Sr.
He's a wonderful man too. He really is.
He's a true gentleman.
He is, isn't he? Oh my
sense,
God,
100%.
what a great guy! I remember when Frank Basil was part of the group, and Frank ended up being the county Democratic chairman. Yeah. But I'll tell you, Mike Sr., Jr., just great people. Really have, and I love Mike. Senator Mike's Facebook pages, all the pizza things and the different places and things he talks about, where he goes to eat, Eric's and that kind of stuff. But I've really enjoyed getting to know him. And the other factor is, I mean, you and I talked about this before we went on the air, but truthfully, folks, it almost doesn't pay the Democratic Party to run somebody for Senate and Assembly. And we haven't talked about Antoine and Eric, who I like a lot, Antoine McClellan and Eric Simonson. They are your Assembly people. And the way the county was set up even before Joe and Senator Testa helped turn it red, this county, it's still all those Republican Assembly and Senate people won all the time, except for Van Drew, because Cape May County is mammothly red. They are just very, very much a strong Republican base, and that helps for the Senate and for the Assembly. And I would be remiss if I didn't say hello to our good friend at the Marco Luisi Funeral Home, Skip Luisi, who won the surrogate's position. Yep. He's very charismatic. Got a great
Skip is very charismatic. Yeah. Really I love Skip, and you always know what Skip is thinking. So I love that about him.
High energy. He really is a great guy.
For sure.
Like I say, I've got to get Mike Donato on sometime. I've heard good things about him. I just don't know him.
Right.
And I don't know Marchand Jr., but again, I watch the meetings, and I'm impressed with him, his knowledge, and what he's able to do for our county. And he's an attorney also, which is really a great situation for the Cumberland County Commissioners Board. It's hard to say.
So you mentioned, if I can go back to the comment that you made a few minutes ago, you mentioned Cape May County, and we typically carry Republicans because it's such a solid Republican county. And the formula for the first legislative district was always the same. We have to win Cape May County by more than we lose Cumberland County by, and we can carry the election.
Yes, that's true.
So the good news now, and as you say, Mike Testa and Eric and Antoine have such a juggernaut now that, we're carrying Cumberland County by big numbers too. Yeah, so exactly. It's not a case where Cape May County is carrying Cumberland anymore. We're winning everywhere in the district. And of course, they just brought Bridgeton into the district.
That's right, yeah.
don't expect the Republicans to carry Bridgeton anytime soon in the general election, but the margin was much lower this year than it typically is.
That's a good point you just made, though. What I find is the Democrats are not as loyal voters as the Republicans are. And other than the presidential election year, the off-year elections, which was what they call the other ones, especially if you don't have Congress or whatever, there's a very poor Democrat turnout. And that's something I think the Democrats still outnumber. Did you say by 8,000?
8,000.
But yet, think about it, folks. They outnumber the Republicans by 8,000, but the Republicans have swept everything. They have it all. So this is a funny story. I don't know if you've ever heard this one. Jeff Trout, who's Mike Trout's dad, is a good friend of mine. So when 1997, Jeff and I was the mayor. Jeff was number 2 to me. And we had Jimmy Parent, Joe Durrell, and John Hollingston. The 5 of us got elected. And we ran all as independents. But Jeff was a Republican, and I was a registered Democrat, obviously, at the time. And anyway, one year, Jeff decides he's going to run for a freeholder. And I said, I'm going to miss him, but I don't think he's going to win. He won. Art Marchand won, and Jimmy Sorrow won. Did you hear about that year? I think, or maybe it was. I know Jimmy and Jeff won, and maybe it was Hal Johnson.
Hal Johnson, because I was saying,
that's right.
What I will tell you is I just saw the bumper sticker in Hal Johnson's office that has those names on it.
And boy, again, what a great selection for the county administrator.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, what a super guy.
I didn't know Hal before he was selected as the administrator. I've gotten to know him since then, obviously. But what a great selection. He's got such a bundle of experience, having been elected and serving as a freeholder in majority and minority, which you need both to really understand how the board works, right? If you serve in minority forever, you never really know how the government gets run. If you serve in majority forever, you don't know the pitfalls.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
You really do need to serve in both to really know what's going on. I guess I say that since I lost control of my own county and I had to serve in minority.
Which
makes myself
but you
feel
were the
better.
First one ever. That first Republican director ever.
The last one, anyway. So, but hey, Hal was a great choice, and he's done a phenomenal job. He's got the right temperament for it.
He's got a great sense. I love his sense of humor, too. When we get out socially, I just really enjoy it. The thing that happened that year, by the way, folks, talking about Democrats not going out to vote, it was like the monsoon. It poured and poured and poured. And God bless the Republicans. They're dedicated. They went out, they voted, and it was a sweep. And there were some people, some strong incumbents on the Democratic side, but the timing and the lack of Democrat voters going out voting. I know in 2021, I'm banging on every door that's a Democrat.
Yeah.
And they didn't help me at all. I mean, it really didn't, because for whatever reason, they just don't seem to have the interest in voting as the Republicans do. So, whatever that reason is, it doesn't help the Democratic Party. And you know what, Joe? I don't know in my lifetime if I'll ever see this county go blue. I think this county's going to follow in the Cape May County tradition and stay pretty much. And especially, as you mentioned, Senator Test is young, dynamic. People like him. Antoine's a great guy. Eric's a great guy. And Nick Caselda had a good point. Smart move on Senator Testa's part when he picked his 2 running mates. Simonson's from Lower Township, one of the larger townships in Cape May County, and Antoine is from Ocean City, not one of the other largest cities. So it was a smart move, and again, Simonson has that education background, which I always liked. I thought that helps people, for election and stuff. So, I think they can stay there as long as they'd like.
I think so, and I think we're going to prove that next year because until now, because of the nature of the special election for Senate in 2019, and because of the redistricting that was slowed, in all 3 of the last 3 elections, Test has been, all 3 of them have run. Right. So next year
they have to run without.
They run without Testa, and I think we're going to prove that they'll be there for as long as they want.
Yeah, I agree with you. I can't. It's I just can't see.
Same thing. I can't imagine. I mean, too soon to predict who our gubernatorial candidate is going to be, but whoever that is, they will do well.
You think who do you guys?
There is no you guys, so I'm not going to speak for anybody else except that I don't see any reason for our party to do anything other than coalesce behind Jack Chitterelli.
Yeah, he came really close.
He came really close. Yeah. He's been working ever since the election. He's tireless. He's technically not announced, but as he'll say, it's the worst kept secret in New Jersey, and it does kind of bother me. This is one thing that our party just doesn't do well. Right, we get our vote out on election day, but this is one thing we don't do well is we just can't seem to find a way to coalesce around a singular candidate. early enough to make a difference, and then we end up, shooting at each other.
Well, I've been to a couple of viewings recently, and I've seen there Senator Sweeney, former Senator Sweeney. I think he's going to be running for governor.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's. No one would be surprised if he's running for governor, whether he gets his party's nomination.
He's got some competition.
Got some competition, right?
Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, next year will be interesting.
Yeah, it sure will be.
This year will be entertaining. Next year will be interesting.
Yes, good point. Joe, thank you so much for coming in.
It was a pleasure, and thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Joe Condo, who was campaign chairman for the Republican Party in 2021, 2022, 2023, and for 2024. I'm sure he'll be doing the same, or is already, I'm sure, started doing that as well. And, of course, he's a patent attorney with a lot of talent. Talented man, and thank you again, Joe, for being with us. Thank you, Ryan Narowski, for producing the show, and thank you all for joining us. Take care. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
This has been a QBC television production, in association with our partners and sponsors. QBC broadcasts on Comcast Cable Channel 22, and live streams its programming on Facebook and YouTube. All rights reserved by Quinn Media and QBC, programming that serves the South Jersey market.